Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm Steve Fisher, and today we're diving into a shift that's happening right in front of us, even if we don't always see the full picture. We're talking about world Mosaic, the global reconfiguration of power, influence, and economic systems. For decades, we lived in a world where global power was concentrated in a few dominant players: the United States, China, and the European Union. These economies, governments, and corporations set the pace for everything from trade to technology to cultural influence. But that order is shifting. Emerging economies are stepping onto the world stage. Supply chains are being restructured, countries are rethinking their dependencies, and technology, which once seemed like a unifying force, is now fragmenting into different digital ecosystems controlled by different regions. We're not moving toward a single, unified global order. We're moving toward a complex, multipolar world, where influence is more distributed and power is more fluid than ever before. This shift affects everything: how businesses operate, how governments make decisions, and even how individuals build their careers in a world where opportunities aren't tied to just one economic superpower. Today, we're going to unpack how global power dynamics are shifting, why economic influence is becoming more distributed, and what this means for businesses, governments, and individuals trying to navigate a world that no longer plays by a single set of rules. Let's dive in. For decades, globalization was the name of the game. Companies stretched their supply chains across continents, moving production wherever labor was cheapest. Trade agreements made it easier to do business across borders. Economic interdependence was supposed to create stability, and for a while, it worked. But that era is ending. The last few years have exposed the fragility of hyper-globalization. When a factory in China shut down during the pandemic, entire industries ground to a halt. When geopolitical tensions escalated, companies and governments realized they couldn't afford to be dependent on a single country for critical resources. And now, with new technologies like automation and AI reshaping industries, businesses are starting to question whether outsourcing labor to the lowest cost country even makes sense anymore. We're seeing a move toward regionalization and economic blocks, where countries and businesses are pulling back from extreme global interdependence and focusing on building self-sufficiency. The idea of just-in-time supply chains, where companies keep inventory as lean as possible, is being replaced by just-in-case strategies, where redundancy and resilience matter more than pure efficiency. The global economy isn't collapsing, it's reorganizing. Instead of one seamless interconnected system, we're seeing multiple overlapping trade zones, regional supply chains, and shifting economic alliances. It's no longer just about Western economies leading the way. Southeast Asia, India, Africa, and the Middle East are emerging as new centers of innovation, investment, and influence. That's the first big takeaway. The future isn't globalized, it's regionalized. And it's not just economics. Culture and influence are shifting too. For a long time, Hollywood, Western fashion, and English-speaking media dominated the global cultural landscape. If you wanted to reach a global audience, you had to do it through American and European platforms. But that's changing fast. K-pop is dominating global music charts. Nollywood, Nigeria's booming film industry, is reaching audiences worldwide. Latin American reggaeton artists are outselling mainstream Western pop stars, and streaming platforms in China and India are shaping entertainment in ways Hollywood simply can't ignore. People no longer consume culture from just one source. They're pulling from a mosaic of different influences, regions, and creators. Businesses and brands that don't recognize this shift risk missing out on massive audiences. The future of cultural influence isn't one dominant voice. It's a network of diverse voices shaping the global conversation. For companies, this means global marketing strategies can't be one-size-fits-all anymore. What works in North America won't necessarily work in Southeast Asia. The brands that thrive in this new landscape will be the ones that understand local cultures, adapt their messaging, and build regional trust. The key lesson here: cultural power is no longer centralized. It's becoming decentralized, diverse, and multi-directional. But the biggest fragmentation we're seeing isn't just in economics or culture, it's in technology and finance. For years, the internet was a single global system, a shared digital space where information flowed freely. But now, it's splintering. China has built its own digital ecosystem completely separate from Western tech giants like Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Russia is doing the same. The European Union is setting its own strict data privacy laws, forcing companies to operate differently within its borders. The idea of a single, open internet is fading, replaced by multiple internets, controlled by different governments and tech policies. And we're seeing the same thing in finance. The US dollar has been the world's dominant currency for decades, but that dominance is being challenged. Countries are experimenting with central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, to bypass traditional financial systems. Cryptocurrencies and decentralized finance, DeFi, are creating parallel economies that don't rely on banks or governments at all. If the past was about one global financial system, the future is about multiple competing financial networks operating under different rules and power structures. This has massive implications. Businesses will have to navigate different regulatory frameworks in different digital zones. Investors will have to think beyond traditional markets and currencies. And individuals, especially those working internationally, will need to understand how to move between different financial and digital environments with agility. So, what does this mean for the future? For businesses, this means that success in a multipolar world requires flexibility. Companies that used to operate with a single, global strategy will need to customize their approach for different regions, different supply chains, different consumer expectations, and different regulatory environments. Those that embrace localization, agility, and resilience will win. Those that assume the old global model still works will fall behind. For governments, this shift means new challenges in cooperation, competition, and economic stability. Nations that can balance regional self-sufficiency with smart global partnerships will emerge stronger. Those that cling too hard to outdated economic dependencies may struggle. And for individuals, the ability to move between different systems, economically, culturally, and digitally, will be one of the most valuable skills in the coming decades. If you can operate across multiple economic environments, if you can understand different cultural landscapes, if you can work seamlessly in different digital ecosystems, you'll have a major advantage. The bottom line, the future isn't defined by one world order. It's a mosaic of shifting interconnected networks. So here's your challenge. Look at your industry, your company, or your career path. Are you still thinking in old global terms, assuming that a single uniform strategy works everywhere? Or are you preparing for a world where success depends on being adaptable, regionally aware, and ready to operate across multiple networks? In our next episode, we're going to explore how businesses, investors, and individuals can build resilience in this fragmented world, how to stay ahead of shifting global trends, navigate uncertainty, and create strategies that work across multiple economic and cultural environments. Until then, keep exploring, questioning, and as always, think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.